Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about Big Little Lies, Season 2, Episode 4. It is called She Knows. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, Mary Louise is damaging my cam. She's upsetting me, and I don't know how to process these thoughts, Tara. How are you feeling right now?
She makes me so stressed out.
It's... Do you know it? Like, because she shows up at the start, right? We have this Halloween thing, the
some kind of school event that's being done at
Madeline.
Madeline's place. Yeah,
There you go. That's the character's name. Yeah, Madeline and all the other mothers have got all the kids, and they're all making pumpkins and jack o' lanterns and whatnot. And Mary Louise just shows up. And it's like, oh, I heard about this thing, and it sounded like fun, so I thought I'd show up. And she brings in, and there's a small moment here where Celeste is concerned that Max is making a pumpkin with a knife in it that's got blood coming out of it, and that really kind of made me laugh. I get why she's concerned about that, but as someone who's a fan of horror movies, I'm like, yeah, do an evil pumpkin that's bloody and gory, do it. But she shows up, and like I love the exchange of glances between all the mums in this scene as Mary Louise walks in, and like Celeste sees her and then looks over at Jane, and Jane's looking over, and Bonnie's never met her before, and it's just this awkward introduction, but then she stares at Bonnie just a little bit too long to make Bonnie kind of uncomfortable, because of course Bonnie threw her son down a flight of stairs, which killed him. So
do you think she knows because she's like read some kind of police report or something about that she knows that Bonnie was there? I mean, she has to, right?
I don't think it's about a report. I think it's more just about the Monterey Five. You know, the rumors that are going about town. She's like, I've met the other four of these five. I mean, Renata was only briefly, admittedly, but you know, she has at least met her once before. But she sees Bonnie, and it's like, oh, you're the one I don't know. And I think Bonnie, because she is the one who is maybe like, you know, she's been affected by the event. She's been very kind of locked up in herself for a while. I think her demeanor speaks to Mary Louise a little bit, and it's like, even though she's never met her before and she doesn't know what she was like before, she's just getting these vibes because she's looking for them, basically. And everyone.
Yeah. She's silently judging all of them.
Which leads to Celeste saying, hey, Mary Louise, can I come talk to you? And then kind of tells her off for the boundaries, and like, hey, you can't just come here. And this is right after Mary Louise has revealed that she's got an apartment in Jane's building.
I know. That stressed me out too. Of course it would be with Jane. It seemed like such a nice gesture for her to like separate herself so that she's not too invasive. And then she goes just wandering into Jane's life because Jane's so nice to her.
Yeah, Jane's been a gem, and she more than she probably needed to be up until this point. But Celeste takes her to the side and says, hey, do you really think it's a good idea moving into that building? There's boundaries. You know, you're moving in with your son's rape victim. Is that really a good idea? And Mary Louise, this is where you really start to get angry, because Mary Louise says, I'm not convinced that she's actually a rape victim. And, you know, and then she says, well, I mean, you know, why was he there? Why was he looking for a woman? Was he driven there? You know, kind of thing. Putting blame on Celeste. And Celeste quite rightly says, excuse me? And she's like, well, I mean, if there was one, there was probably others. I mean, how many times was he driven to, you know, and it's at this point where Celeste slaps her. And obviously, given the context of where this plot's going to go for the rest of the episode, this is a very bad moment for Celeste in terms of where we're going to be going next.
Yeah, but it was a good moment for me watching her get slapped.
Yeah, it was satisfying in the moment for sure. It was like, yes, smack her.
Yeah, because for us, it's like her standing up to.
Unfortunately, as soon as she glances back at her after the hit, as she puts her glasses back on, you know that she's just got ammunition. Like, you know that's what's in her eyes. She's like, you just gave me something. You just gave me something I can use. And sure enough, Mary Louise, her plot in this episode is that she's actually getting a lawyer. She's going to try and get custody of the twins. And, you know, I think the really vicious stuff here is when the lawyer says to her, hey, call all these attorneys. These are all the good attorneys in the area. And she's like, but I've already got you. Why do I need to call these people? It's like, because if you call all them, she can't use any of them because there's a conflict. and it's like this really brutal thing. And he even, and the lawyer doesn't seem like such a bad guy, because eventually he's like, hey, you sure you want to do this, because you're going to kind of alienate yourself from everyone, and even though you'll have custody, they might hate you for it. Like,
and the boys too might hate them. Might hate her for it.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant. Yeah, the boys might resent her.
I thought you meant like all of the rest of the family.
Oh, they already hate her.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, I already hate her. But
she makes it really easy.
Oh, she does. And again, talking about ammunition, Celeste is out with Jane, and she's having a drink, and there's a moment where the camera just lingers on the bartender as he's smiling at her just a little bit too long. You're like, I've got a feeling I know what this is going to cut to a little bit later.
Me too.
Yeah, but it doesn't just cut to them having sex. It cuts to the morning after, where she's sitting there very hungover. We actually find out she's been taking pills again, and she's actually out of it like she was with the car.
Yeah, she's very out of it. She doesn't seem hungover. She seems like she's on drugs.
Yeah, and in walks, was it Joey? What was the bartender's name?
I think so, yeah.
Just walks in topless in front of the boys, who are kind of staring at him like, who the hell's this asshole?
Well, his shirt was, in the bedroom.
I wasn't critiquing why he was topless. It was just, I was looking at it more from the perspective of like, Mary Louise is there with the boys, and they all see this, and it's like, this is more ammunition.
Well, Mary Louise brings the boys home because they were staying with her for the night. Like, she basically, Celeste thought that she had like a free night to, be single again and do whatever she wanted to do.
Yeah, and Madeline does point out that, like, you had a night without the boys. Like, it makes sense that you might do something for yourself, but she should have, like, called over or something in the morning, texted first. And, well, she does have a point. She does just kind of show up. It doesn't change the fact that it's now happened and that the boys have seen this, right. And that's further ammunition for. And at this point, they don't know that there's going to be this legal attack or proceeding of any kind. They're just talking in general about the way Mary Louise is acting. And Mary Louise comes over later. She kicks Madeline out the room, and because she needs to talk to Celeste, and says maybe the boys should come live with me. And when Celeste says, "No, of course not. They're not living with you," that's when she hits her with the legal document. Says that's been filed tomorrow. And we're going to start this. And, Nicole Kidman gets a lot of chances on this show to act her ass off. And I think her reaction to looking at that paper after she walks out and the way she throws it down is just a little moment.
She's so good. She's too good for the show. Everybody's really good in this.
Well, because it gets to the scene with the therapist where she's worried that the therapist might be used to, like, show that she's an unfit mother. And she's like, no, like, doctor-patient privilege. Like, they can't ask me to talk about you. That's not something.
And we know Celeste is a really great lawyer. We saw that in the last season.
Yeah, which actually I think is a point of how out of it she is, because she really should know this. Like, this is something that she clearly knows. Is that our therapist can't be like a witness against her. She just can't be. But she is rightly worried that the boys are going to be questioned. Like, and they've already been through so much. Yeah.
Yeah, they lost their father, and now they might lose their mother.
Yeah. And I think the sad part is that it's not, like, I don't even necessarily think that there's a discussion to be had that right now she is in such a destructive place that maybe she isn't fit to be a guardian for kids. But the way Mary Louise is going about it is so malicious. And again, it has this intention where you feel like it's more than just what's best for the boys. You feel like she's pointing fingers and blaming people. It feels more intrusive than that.
Yeah. This is going to spiral downward in a way that will affect the boys probably even more.
Yeah. Because if she came over and had this like talk, like, I'm worried about you, maybe the boys should live with me while you get your life back on track, and she did that without going to a lawyer first, I might have actually been more on her side and said, no, she's just calmly trying to like talk her through this and saying, hey, just let them live with me for a couple of weeks whilst you, go to therapy, sort yourself out and, heal from this, grieve and heal and do whatever you need to do, a month, whatever. But she asks once and then immediately has the legal document to hit her with. And it's almost like, you could say that she's rightly expecting that she won't go along with this, but of course not. She feels attacked. She feels like she's been told that she can't look after her kids. There's a way to tackle this issue with her in a way that's more sympathetic. That's in a way that's more just considerate of how she's feeling.
Sure.
And make her understand why you're concerned.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I couldn't help but like think back in the last 4 episodes now that we've seen, and there is quite a bit of ammunition against Celeste because she's not in a very good place. She's not healthy. She needs to work on a lot of issues, and it probably would affect the boys. But yeah, the way that Mary Louise goes about it seems there's like a cruelty there that is not going to. She's not concerned with Celeste at all. Like her only concern is with the boys. And, you know, we watching it, we do have a ton of sympathy for Celeste. So you can kind of see both sides of it, but.
Well, this is the beauty of it, is that we know that she's kind of right, but we also see how she's going about it, and we also understand her motivations. Like she's like, no, I'm going to get my grandchildren away from this woman who's accused my sons of awful things. You know, because there was that line earlier after she was hit where she's like, "Oh, do we call that foreplay?" You know, she kind of rubs it in.
Yeah,
it's such
gross.
a nasty moment.
Yeah,
and I think that the genius scene in this episode that really hits this home, that while we are on Celeste's side and while we are rooting for her to get better, that there is kind of a point here where maybe she shouldn't be looking after the kids right now, is the scene where Jane comes to confront Mary Louise, and Mary Louise says, "Hey, she crashed her car, and she like sometimes rides your son to school with the other two boys. Are you okay with that?" And Jane can't answer her. And Jane's there to defend Celeste. Jane cares about Celeste. We've seen them, you know, be good friends to each other recently. We know their relationship, and she wants to stick up for her. And she does until a point, but after she says that, she's kind of tongue-tied. She can't. She's like,
right.
You've got a point.
Well, I think everyone knows that Celeste needs help at this point, but this is not the way to help her.
Yeah.
This is only going to make things so much worse.
Which is what makes Mary Louise's like intrusion really hurt, is that there's some truth to it. Like the way she's doing it's awful, and what she's trying to achieve is without regard for Celeste, but there's a layer of truth in there somewhere, and that just makes everything she's saying look legitimate and hurts everything more. So she's a very frustrating character, and again, it's back to the manipulative side kind of thing. I'm trying to find a way to compare it to Perry, and the way that, okay, there's these awful things, but there is also that truth of like, oh, he does actually, you know, love his kids, and he is a good dad. You know, it's kind of this thing where it's like she's relying on the slither of truth in there to justify all the things she's doing that are unhealthy for her own good, which is kind of like her son. So.
And Celeste and Mary Louise have that conversation about grieving also, with where you get a little bit more like backstory for Mary Louise when she lost her other kid, which that is what happened, right? Yeah.
She lost Perry's
and Perry
brother.
Blamed her for their father walking away, and she doesn't know anything about what happened to Perry's father after he left. Like, she only hears rumors, so he must have really been gone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's another thing, like, if it's just going to be Mary Louise and the boys, and they're going to blame Mary Louise for not being with their mother, like, who knows? Like, you don't want to make two more Perrys. Yeah,
they're almost on the path to just be exactly like the father at that point.
Right, and it's totally out of Celeste's control at this point.
I almost laughed a little bit in this scene, because when she said that her husband left her alone, I was like, so you're kind of also Madeline. Like, you're a little bit of Madeline as well. There's just a little bit of that in there too. That big plot advancement there with Mary Louise. She very much is kind of the villain, even though she has a point, which makes it really kind of hurt. We should jump over to Madeline, who's struggling with Ed not kind of being around. He's still living there, but he's kind of gone a lot, and it's a very murky situation. You know, because eventually in the episode she even says, like, if you're going to leave me, can you just do it and get it over with? Because all this worrying's, and he's standing there sort of thinking, like, why am I the bad guy right now? Come on.
Yeah, I know, but I'm kind of on Madeline's side here.
Oh, okay.
A little bit. Like, I know he's been through a lot, but at the same time, that would be torture.
Do you know? I think I would be a little bit if it wasn't for the scene that takes place earlier on, where she's complaining about Meryl Lee's, right? Moving into the building, and she's like, gun ho, and he sort of like sees her like, really fight about this with herself for like a minute, and says, you do that. There's no middle ground with you. Like if something is upset you or something's wrong, you go at it like a pit bull. Like you can't just let it lie. You confront it and you shout and you scream to a degree that's unhealthy and annoying, admittedly. But he didn't say that. I'm saying that.
Yeah.
But so why didn't you do that with us? Like you never said anything if there was something wrong. And she says, "Well, it wasn't us. It was me." And I think there's something.
I think that's fair. I think that's something that she knows that she can't be self-reflexive. She can see problems in other people but not herself, and or when she's confronted with something that's wrong with herself, she doesn't know how to fix it because she's not on the outside anymore.
Oh no, I agree. I think it says something about her character that she's with this with every problem in her life except when it's herself, because as we've seen with her feeling regret about not going to college or not like building her own life for herself, and sort of like
and she can't even be honest with the therapist when it's about herself.
Yeah, so when it comes to herself, she can do nothing but lie. All
she can do is accuse other people of doing what she does, which is judging people.
Yeah, and at one point the other characters even like say that they don't outright say it's her fault, but they say this lie, we were just going to admit what happened. It was in self-defense, but it was Madeline who said, no, he slipped. No one pushed him. Like that was her, and that lie is now kind of eating away at them a little bit more and more.
Have we seen that scene at the beginning of every episode? I can't remember that flashback, and then it's just different characters opening their eyes each time.
I feel like we might have done, because I feel like I've seen it like a ton this season. is them looking down those stairs.
I know we saw it with Bonnie, and probably with Celeste.
And now for sure with Madeline.
Now with Madeline.
Yeah. Which misses one. Maybe I don't know if Renata's had a moment. Jane makes sense as well, though. So we probably had it with Jane.
Probably. I guess maybe that's a pattern that we haven't really picked up on.
Renata will be next episode. Renata will be like...
Then we'll know that it's a thing.
Yeah, I feel like she's oddly disconnected from the actual thing. Like, she's there, obviously, and she's a part of the group, and she's obviously covering up with them, but she's the least emotionally kind of attached to Perry, in the sense that she is just kind of a bystander. Whereas, Jane was raped by Perry, Celeste was married to Perry, Madeline's, like, their good friend, and was kind of, like... and then Bonnie,
she's the one who decided we're all going to lie about this.
And Bonnie pushed them, right, and seems to suffer like a history of some kind, and so they all have this emotional attachment to what happened, and Renata is just kind of like there. Not that she's not got her own shit, we'll talk about that soon. But because there's several times where she tries to like sort of build an olive branch with Ed in this episode, and he's and I don't think he's an outright dick. He's kind of just clearly really disconnected and can't dive into it. I don't think he ever gets mean.
His world's just upside down right now.
Yeah, he never really gets mean. I did love, though, that we kind of finally got the Ed and Nathan fight, though, and it was somewhat glorious in how childish it was.
It was. Even when like Renata breaks it up.
He started it.
Playing.
He started it. do you know what's funny about it, though, is that like almost every time they end up like fighting or arguing, usually arguing, in this case actually fighting in a kiddie way, is it always starts with one of them actually being nice to the other. Usually Nathan, because Nathan walks up to him here and he's like, "Hey, you all right?" He's actually concerned. He seems concerned. And
he says, "I know what you're going through,"
Yeah, and just kind of like, "Oh, don't just F off. I don't care. Piss off." Right? And Nathan just gets really defensive. And Nathan should know that he's just upset and should walk away. So Nathan's also to blame here for being childish, because he goes, "Don't speak to him like that. Don't speak to him like that." And then they just start.
I don't get, like, Nathan always wants to be friends. Is always trying to build this bridge between him and Ed.
Here's the thing, though. He always wants to be friends until Ed says one little thing that, I mean, in this case, he is actually quite rude to him. But there's been other times where Ed will just crack a little joke that isn't even like that mean or anything like that, and Nathan will just immediately get angry and start like saying, "You want to fight me then? You want to fight me?"
Yeah,
they're so childish.
I don't know why Nathan keeps trying to do it, though.
Oh dear,
it was great.
There is a moment though where both Nathan and Madeline are watching Ed and Bonnie dance, But for some reason, Bonnie dancing at Amabella's birthday party is always a controversial moment. Like, that's just always something. There was even a little reference where Renata says, "Oh, we should dance again with her." But like both of them are kind of staring like, "Oh, this is weird." They're having fun, and it's kind of funny because I think from a weird perspective, if you look at the characters on this show, Ed and Bonnie actually seem better suited as a couple than either of their pairings.
Yeah, they make each other very happy.
They do. One weird comment about liking a sweaty woman aside, it's been a very friendly.
I think it's just like Ed's clearly a funny guy. And Bonnie just needs a reason to laugh, and everybody around her is so serious. So that's probably all. They just have chemistry.
They have chemistry, unlike Ed and Madeline, and unlike Nathan and Bonnie. They have chemistry.
Yeah, presumably they did at one point.
Imagine if they say they broke up with their partners and did get together, it would be this weird thing where both of them have been married to people who were married to each other before. It's very soapy.
Now he's going to end up with the booby lady.
He's going to end up with the booby lady, yes, as you coined last week, the booby lady. Yeah. So that's the whole thing. Which was there anything else to say about Madeline's plot before? Because we're at the party, so I feel like jumping over to Bonnie.
I guess not. This whole episode is just her. She keeps trying to reconcile with Ed. Like they have that scene on the porch where she's suggesting that they go out together. Like they just take a vacation, and it's someplace that sounds nice, like a resort area for couples who are going through issues.
I'm glad you brought this scene up because we have to talk about Chloe's entrance into this scene. Chloe is doing a school project. She is making a display? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like a diagram that represents opposite.
Yeah, opposites. And it's like they don't just want words; they want visuals. And she holds this up to show Madeline. And Madeline's like, "Okay, so that's a door. And who's this?" It's like, "Oh, that's you." And she's like, "How are they opposites?" And then Chloe, that's maybe the funniest, that's maybe the most I've laughed in this entire show since it started, by the way. Chloe deadpan says, "The door is hinged." And I knew it was going somewhere funny. I thought it was going to be like, "Oh, the door can actually open," or something like that. You know, like where's your shut off, or like
you don't understand doors. I don't know, something like that. Like,
yeah, but her just saying deadpan, "The door is hinged," and then Madeline's reaction broke me. It actually broke me. And then Ed finally sort of
the best.
perked up a little bit.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty great. Madeline's reaction to it was pretty great. That's supposed to be funny. I'll change it.
It's, do you know what? It hurts her because it's true.
Yep.
That's why it hurts. So Bonnie brings her mother to the party. She does have that scene where she asks if Mary Louise knows anything, and it's like, nah, she's suspicious of me, says Celeste, but doesn't really know anything about you. The big thing here, other than dancing with Ed, is that her mother collapses, and we find out later she had a stroke. But notably, and the show's getting into some weird territory. I don't know how much it's going to go into this, but it feels like her mother's having a vision of the future, and it's like a premonition of Bonnie drowning in the ocean. And I don't know how much we're getting into this because she claims to be mystical, and she's got her,
crystals and stuff.
Yeah, knickknacks, and so I don't know how far we get into this, but she sees it again at the end. That's how we end the episode, when she's lying in the hospital bed. But the other big beats to point out from this is that the cop who was investigating the crime is actually more like, because I was used to always seeing her kind of like separate from the plot, like because it was all in season 1 especially, it was always like later on in the investigation because everything was set in the past. Whereas this is a little bit different, where she's in the hospital and Bonnie's like, "Seriously, you're coming here?" And Jane has to like grab her and say, "No, she's here for like a DUI or something. It's nothing to do with us." And she's like, "Oh," but in doing that, she's made her very suspicious that she's on this
the cop kind of looks at her like, "Should I be here for you?"
Yeah. So she kind of shows up with Madeline and I think Celeste later, or was it Renata? I can't remember. It was Madeline and someone. I think it was Renata actually. I remember thinking they had a lot of food in front of them for just the two of them, and it looked very untouched.
Mm.
I think it's because I was hungry. They had these, it was like sliced crusty bread, from a big baguette with like lettuce and little cherries on top. I don't know. I'm hungry. Okay, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was like a bowl of berries and avocado toast. I noticed it too. It looks good.
So, I mean, that was Bonnie's thing. Obviously, her mother going down is a big deal, but very curious to see how we deal with this premonition. Like, are we actually teasing that Bonnie might be dead by the end of this season? Are we teasing a suicide, or are we teasing a murder? Like, what are we teasing here exactly? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't think the show is going to take that. I think her mother just is very spiritual, and she probably sees it as it's like a subconscious thing. Like maybe she's drowning in her own emotions. I don't know.
Yeah, it's more of a metaphor. I would say not even her emotions, like drowning in like the pressure is coming on that she's going to be caught for what she did. Like, the investigations like that. And I think seeing the cop with her after this is maybe another testament to that it's the world's closing in on her, and it's like she can't hide for much longer, and it feels like drowning. So that would be my interpretation right now, but we'll see if it does anything wackier with it.
Yeah, if they actually go into like a premonition thing where she has the ability to, I don't know, she tried to like mind meld with her on the dance floor at one point. So I think I would hate that.
Mind melding.
I think most people would hate that. So I don't think they're going to do it.
What's mind melding from, Tara?
Oh, the hit television show Star Trek. All of them. There's always a Vulcan. I almost said Klingon. There's always a Vulcan.
I would say primarily the original series, though, because I mean, at least Next Gen doesn't have a regular Vulcan.
Yeah, you're right. But there are some intense mind melding scenes in Next Gen with Sarek.
With Sarek?
Mm-hmm. Sarek and Picard, and
I didn't know Sarek was in.
Gets to really act his ass off.
I did not know Sarek was in Next Gen.
Yeah.
I assumed he was like dead by that timeline.
Not yet.
Okay, all right, interesting. Some Star Trek bombshells been dropped on me today. So we have to talk about Renata. Let's talk about Renata, who
Renata's great.
Goes to this bankruptcy hearing with Gordon, and like she's very obviously confrontational at first, like she always is. And then the more that the guy asks questions, he's assessing what they've got to their name and what they're entitled to, and he makes them, give in the Rolex and her wedding ring, and the lawyer argues for that back. We find out after the fact, but it's kind of this big moment. Also, she gets very emotional and unwilling to cooperate when he starts asking about a medical bill that we don't know about. We don't know exactly what this is for, but she's not willing to actually say what it was, and it was never went through insurance. They just paid for it. Yeah,
I wonder. I thought maybe it was like that weird child psychologist that came by in the outfit.
Oh, I was like $42,000 though. I can't imagine that.
Yeah, it's got to be like some kind of procedure.
Yeah, I was thinking it might have like. I mean, again, this is too much for this, but like I was thinking if there was like some sort of abortion or miscarriage. I mean, I don't know how recent this expense was, but it felt really personal. It felt like something that really hit like a chord. Yeah,
it seemed like something she wasn't willing to admit in front of Gordon. But I don't know. He didn't seem to ask questions about it after, so.
I don't know. The way he sort of like, he said her name, like as she was refusing to speak about this, the way he said it, I think he knew what it was, and I think he understood that this was hard for her. So as much as he was encouraging her, because the way he said her name was very like, I know this is hard, but
Okay.
But I could be wrong. You might be right. Maybe he doesn't know exactly what this is.
This is like the first scene of the episode, and I don't remember.
Do you know, Joe, what really got me about this, other than just like her stuff being stripped away from her, like this, her wealth, her power, and the idea that like, it was someone else, it was the husband who did this, and everything she's worked for has been taken away, and the emotion of it is. This moment specifically was the one moment that felt like it really brought her gender into it. Like up until this point, it was just she's along for the ride because Gordon did this. But this moment where she's been asked about this medical expense, it felt like it was something specific to her being a woman and her some sort of experience that she's had.
It didn't seem like it was something that they really needed to know either. If it was personal.
Yeah, because I mean, like, it's not some. I don't think it's something frivolous. I don't think it's like plastic surgery. At least not like just a boob job or something like that. Like, if it is something, it's something deeply humiliating. She doesn't want to talk about. This is something that's like, no, I have earned the power to do this and not be asked about it. I am not giving that up. I am not saying it. And she sort of stands her ground. So I definitely thought of like, I mean, because 42 is a lot. So
it is a lot of money.
So I'm
although it doesn't take that much to get that kind of a bill here. Medical bill.
True. I was wondering, could they not naturally conceive, do you think? Do you think this was more to do with a surrogate or
maybe
that process? Like, I don't know. Like, whatever it is, it's personal. It's something that she really feels personal about.
Yeah.
And I really got that.
And what we get from these scenes too is that she is not going to leave Gordon.
Yeah, that's right. She's very cynical about it. She's like, they do bad things, they cheat, they steal, they whatever. We always come back. And Madeline's like, are you hearing yourself right now?
Yeah.
It's like, I know. But
well, she also said cheat right next to Madeline.
Yeah.
It's like, thanks.
what I actually, my favorite scene with Renata though in this episode is actually at the party, which they've not told the bankruptcy guy about, because can't be saying that they're spending all this money on this party, which they know fine well they can't do again, at least not for a long time. There's a moment where I think it finally hits Gordon what he's done to her. Where they're having this conversation because he's trying to like, hey, I know I can't really make up for what he did, but is there a chance you'll ever forgive me, like sometime in the future, like, can I fight for forgiveness, kind of thing? And she's like, it's not really about you. Like, I worked my ass off my whole life so that I could, give this to my. It's when Amabella's dancing with Max, I think, or the other kid. I'll be honest, I can't tell the two kids apart. Celeste's kids.
No, me neither.
So Max is the one I remember because he was the one that was hitting her, which is actually a bad sign when you think. I mean, she's saying it's cute that they're dancing, but I'm like, I don't know. Like, he's already hit her. I feel like maybe.
Isn't he the one that like choked her also? Or
yeah,
bit her?
Yeah. So maybe you shouldn't encourage that relationship. Admittedly, I get it. They're kids. You let them grow and
the kids,
yeah, be better. But
I don't think anybody blames the kids at that age for what they do.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But like he asked this question. She kind of makes it. No, I worked my whole life so I could do this for my daughter, so that my daughter would never ask for anything, so that we could do this, and it's all been taken away. Everything I've ever worked for is gone, and she just walks away. And there's a moment from Gordon where he just kind of like has this look on his face where I think he just finally understood what he's done to her. That because before it was just like he's lost all their money. Into him, okay, that's terrible, but it's just money. We can move on, whatever. But he doesn't. I think this is the moment where he finally realized the way that he's made her feel weak.
Right. I think he was mistaken in thinking that she was the one who liked the lavish life, but really for her it was just about her daughter. The entire time. And now it's not that she's being taken away from her gowns and her fancy cars and houses or the life of Monterey, but it's that she can't give her daughter whatever she wants because that's what she's been working for her whole life.
Yeah.
And it's a very good scene, really brilliantly acted. Laura Dern, like the emotion that comes through, like she sort of starts to cry, but then doesn't let herself do it and removes herself from the situation, like back to the party, a fun time.
I think what really hits in this scene for me is I think in the moment, and Gordon's not a great guy, and I do think here, I think he actually genuinely understands what he's basically done outside of like, I don't know, killing her. Like he's done the worst possible thing that he could have done to her is to kind of belittle everything she's achieved, and I think he's understood that this is like how monumentally like deep cut this is, that he's betrayed her in this way that is different. Like, I think if Gordon had an affair and it owned up to it, it wouldn't be as bad as this. I think that would actually hurt her less. And I think he's aware of that, and I do see the guilt in his face. I think I don't want to say that he'll redeem himself, but I get the feeling that Gordon might actually genuinely try and fight and do whatever he can to try and make it right. Yeah.
Now that he's not thinking that this is all about Renata anymore.
Yeah. But I think he understands the way that he's betrayed her in a way that he never did before. Like, he always knew that he was in the doghouse. He always knew that he'd done something that was going to piss her off. But this isn't just, oh, I've pissed her off. I'll get her some flowers and she'll be over it next week. This is like a monumental thing for her character.
Yeah.
And I can see it on his face. So it's a really good moment. So,
yeah, it was a great scene.
Yeah. And that was kind of their thing for the most part, because after that, obviously, Bonnie's mother collapses, and from there, that kind of wraps up. But despite the fact that their plot wraps up like halfway through the episode, it's maybe the most impactful one outside of the Celeste and Mary Louise stuff, because it's just actually just so well done. It's nice that her character's getting so much story this season.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Laura Dern's so good.
No, she's great. She's great, and credit where credit's due. I thought Gordon was pretty good in this episode as well, acting wise. I say Gordon because I don't actually know his name off the top of my head. Where are we? Jeffrey Nordling. Yeah, so that was pretty much the episode though.
There's a little bit more that happens with Jane and her boyfriend.
Oh, you're right. I forgot Jane. You're right.
I always forget Jane.
I should forget Jane. Jane brings the boyfriend to the party, and they dance a little bit. It's all very happy. She seems to be having a good time, but she has another sort of flash at one point of her attack, and this leads to telling him a bit more about it and explaining that Ziggy came from the attack and explaining that it was a violent rape, and he holds her hand. It's kind of a it's a good moment.
She explains that her attacker as somebody who was someone she thought was gentle and kind, but turned out to be very violent.
Yeah, which so I should be. I could almost see him in his head going, so I should be more of a dick then, just so that I don't remind you of anyone nice. So just to throw the caution.
Well, just so he understands why she's. Really
I'm mostly just cracking a joke, but I think the scene works really well. And
I think a lot of victims do probably go to people who are abusive. Like once you become a victim, it's just it becomes a pattern, unfortunately.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's not actually that much to talk about with Jane in this episode, I don't think.
Well, most of her stuff we already talked about because it was with Mary Louise.
Yeah. So yeah, it was basically just the boyfriend stuff. In that one moment, it was a really good, well done scene. It just kind of pales compared to a lot of the other stuff, which had a lot going on this episode.
Yeah, you're right.
Which is why we kind of left it behind for a second there. But hey, is that
the idea of having Mary Louise in your building is pretty stressful. It's a pretty big moment for her, for Jane.
Oh yeah, scary, absolutely terrifying. So we'll see how that goes.
She also confronts her and says, "Are you going to take Ziggy away from me also?" Yeah.
It's like, no, you're a wonderful mother. So is Celeste. I did put that voice on. I don't know. I was doing my voice. But hey, we're that's the episode. That's episode 4 of the show. That was the middle episode. We got 3 left of the season. So
no.
We'll see how it goes. Yeah, it's kind of really quick. I mean, 7 episodes is not a lot. It does fly by.
No.
Pretty quick.
You think we're gonna get season 3?
It depends. I mean, I think this one happened because Meryl Streep decided she wanted to do some Big Little Lies, so they all get back together again. I feel like we need someone else, another actor, to be like, "Hey, I wanted
another big name."
Yeah, another big
Lady
name.
Gaga.
Lady Gaga.
Well, Lady Gaga wants to do it this season, so season 3. I don't know. There's no one bigger than Meryl.
I think it'll be the opposite. It won't be like an older star. It'll be like a younger star that's like really big and getting all the buzz right now. Just you watch. It'll be Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift's going to want to do Big Little Lies.
Has she been in anything?
Nah. I just can't think of any young actresses that were really big. The funny thing about Taylor Swift is
Jennifer Lawrence? I don't know. She was in everything for a while.
Yeah, she's been around for a while now, though. I feel like she's like past that honeymoon, like she's the hot new star kind of thing now. She's like an established star that everyone expects.
Zendaya.
Sure.
She's on her way up.
Sure, I like Zendaya. I can get behind it. Okay, but that's the episode. That has been Big Little Lies episode 4. So let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Rate the podcast on your Apple Podcasts or whatever you use for your podcast listening. You can of course support us financially. How can they do that, Tara?
You can check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MildFuzzTV. You can donate as low as $1 per month, and with that $1, you get bonus episodes of other shows that we do on this channel, and you get episodes a week early. Not for Big Little Lies, but for other shows.
Yeah, nicely done. Tara's getting so smooth at that Patreon plug now. So I'm just always going to make her do it. But yeah, that is us. Check out all the TV shows we're reviewing on the channel. We do have weekly reviews of of course, this is Big Little Lies. The Handmaid's Tale, I meant to say. We've got weekly reviews of that going up. We have Dark Season 2 on the go right now with me and Connor. Also, Too Old to Die Young from Amazon. And check out some other stuff. So go have a look-see. But otherwise, that's us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?